So what we're looking at are cells which have been grown in culture, and on the surface of the cell there are all these thousands and thousands of small virus particles.
Just weeks ago, this virus was unknown to science. Now, understanding these images is key to saving lives. Professor John Nichols and his team at Hong Kong University are studying how the new coronavirus replicates in human cells. Their work is already shedding light on its mortality rate and why it's proving less deadly than related virus, SARS.
In SARS, it really started replicating in the lungs and less in the bronchus or the upper airways. But this virus seems to be more likely at this stage to replicate in the airways than in the lungs, which is good. So that can explain why it's not as dangerous as SARS.
Understanding how the virus replicates could ultimately shape the way it's diagnosed and even how it's treated. This isn't the first time scientists here have been on the forefront of a battle against a deadly virus. As specialists in emerging viral infections, they found themselves at the centre of the 2003 SARS epidemic.
It's here at this university that major strides were made in the fight against SARS. And it's that rare experience and expertise that's now being harnessed to combat this virus today.
The university was the first to isolate the virus which caused SARS. Professor Malik Perez is among those credited with controlling the outbreak. He says while the mortality rate for COVID-19 may be lower, it's spreading more rapidly and could even be transmitted before a patient develops symptoms.
There's no question that this is more transmissible than SARS and more difficult to control, because unless you really get people very early and have them isolated, breaking the chain of transmission is challenging, whereas with SARS that was possible.
The university is working on a vaccine, but it's still months away. Back in 2003, candidate vaccines for SARS were also developed. But funding was cut once the virus was brought under control and a vaccine never produced. Professor Malik says if work had been able to progress further, they'd be better prepared today.
Even if we are able to dodge the bullet this time, and I'm not sure, there definitely will be another time. And I don't think we can keep dodging these bullets forever. One of these days, we are really going to have a major epidemic that will really disrupt global economies, global lifestyles, and things we take for granted. So I think it's time that the global community, particularly the economic community, took this very seriously.
Theirs is a race against time as COVID-19 continues its spread around the world, with Professor Malik warning the prospect of a global pandemic is now touch and go.